We are now joined by DA President John Steenhuisen for reaction on the appointment of the panel. John, thank you very much for joining us on SABC News. Give us your views as the DA about this appointment that has been made by the president and its usefulness at this time. We also heard some of the reactions that the former president, Thabo Mbeki, made while he was in Conakry yesterday, I think, or this past week, saying that he doesn't believe that there were weapons that were loaded onto the ship. But as a party, what do you make of this appointment?
Well, first of all, I think it's another display of the complete weakness of President Ramaphosa. We don't need a panel of inquiry to look into this matter. The president, in terms of the constitution, is the commander-in-chief of the armed services in South Africa. Why 6 months later has the commander-in-chief not summoned the naval officials, as well as the military officials and his Minister of Defense, to provide the manifest that was on the ship and to get an explanation? This is just another example, like we saw in Waterkloof, like we saw with the Zondo Commission, where the president is kicking for touch to buy time. It's also concerning that Mr. Surty is on the committee and on the panel. Mr. Surty is an ANC party hack who has spent most of his life defending the worst excesses of the Zuma regime, as well as serving under President Cyril Ramaphosa. There's very little objective impartiality by Mr. Surty, and he's obviously on the committee to protect the interests of the ANC rather to get to the bottom. This is a really sorry state of affairs. And we don't need a commission of inquiry to get to the bottom of what happened here. It is a simple matter of calling the people who were responsible for the loading and offloading on that ship to the office and to ask for a full explanation. And I find it inexplicable that over 6 months after this, the president still is none the wiser about what happened there. So what we're going to see is a commission of inquiry that spends months and months and months doing its work. And much like we saw with the Waterkloof landing, there'll be no consequences for those involved. I differ with the former president, was respectfully. I do believe that there was equipment and materials of war loaded and offloaded on the Lady R, which is why it had to be done under the cover of darkness in a naval port and not in a commercial port like the Cape Town harbour.
According to your understanding, if indeed this was the case, where do you think it leaves our relations with the rest of the world, having been seen? I know this is a question that has been asked time and time again, but I believe that we may have had time to reflect, or you may have had time to reflect as a party, about the consequences of such a thing happening. What do you think as a political party about where the consequences could lead South Africa?
There'll be significant geopolitical consequences for Africa, and we will imperil our very beneficial trade relations with the European Union, with the United States, and I would advance with the United Kingdom. 77% of all foreign direct investment into South Africa emanates from those three countries. If you juxtapose that with Russia and China, which account jointly for just over 6%, this will have serious economic ramifications for South Africa. And if America chooses to carve us out of AGOA or make AGOA with a set of conditionalities, it's going to put a number of industries and jobs in South Africa in significant risk. And that is why a swift, unequivocal response from the president would have been far better. If we have done this, let's fess up, let's admit to it, and let's apologize and clarify. If we haven't, let's provide those manifests and let's provide the evidence that we haven't done it. But why now do we have to go through the charade of yet another commission of inquiry that's going to produce a report that the president no doubt will file in file 13, along with the Surty Commission, along with the Farlam Commission, along with the Zondo Commission.
There's been a lot that has been said with regards to Russia, and particularly the Russian president coming over in South Africa for the BRICS conference, and also suggestions that maybe the BRICS conference should be held at a neutral venue so that South Africa does not bear the responsibility of apprehending the Russian president. Your colleague in Cape Town has said that you as a party will apprehend Vladimir Putin. Do you still maintain that view even now?
Well, absolutely, because all of us as public office bearers, including the president, swear to uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. The Statute of Rome was passed into our domestic legal environment, and therefore a failure to exercise it is a failure, as confirmed by the court in the al-Bashir matter, to uphold the law of the Republic. I think it would be far better if another venue was chosen, perhaps one of the countries that is not a signatory to the Statute of Rome, or to use the option of a virtual meeting. But what we cannot have is South Africa having yet another person charged by the ICC with an arrest warrant issued, who is allowed to come here with impunity and conduct themselves here and then leave. I think this will create far too many problems for the country, and I think we should be very, very circumspect. If we want to exit the Statute of Rome, then we must do that, but it takes a 2-year process to do so, and I don't happen to think it is in our interests to do so, especially when one looks at the speeches made by the ANC at the time that we domesticated the Statute of Rome, where they lauded that never again would South Africa be a place where tyrants and despots would feel welcome. Well, fast forward now 25 years, and the ANC are singing a different tune. But if we do not arrest Vladimir Putin or execute the warrant, once again, like the al-Bashir matter, we'll be found on the wrong side of international law and on the wrong side of those who we regard as our trading partners and allies, and who are involved in both social investment and economic investment in South Africa.
John Steenhuisen, always appreciate your views and speaking to us here on the SABC News Channel. Thank you very much for your time.